Cool. Awesome. Well, we did it. Thank you for giving me your time to talk today. I know your schedule's busy and whatnot, and yeah, it's when I saw a few of your posts online, I kind of just it stands out that you're like passionate about what you do.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, thank you for inviting me. And I am super busy, but I was super excited about this podcast. And I know that like a lot of kind of podcasts that I do will be more specifically about lucid dreaming, but I was particularly interested in yours because you bring in like all the different kind of dream elements, whether it's like nightmares or regular dreams. And so I feel like this could hit a bigger audience of people who might not even really know what lucid dreaming is.
Cool.
So, yeah, thank you for inviting me.
Yeah, absolutely. My pleasure. Cool. Well, I'm just going to kind of jump into it. Will you tell us your name, age, and location?
Yes. My name is Lana Sackwild. I'm currently living in Boulder, Colorado, although I grew up in London. I'm from the UK.
Cool.
And I spent a lot of my life in Tokyo, Japan as well. And I'm currently 27 years old.
Cool. What's in Japan? Were you just kind of visiting out there, or?
Actually, I intended to go out there for a month to stay with a friend, and I ended up being there for about close to 5 years.
Dang. It looks beautiful out there for sure.
Super beautiful. Yeah, it's an incredible place.
Wow.
Mm-hmm.
What would you say your hobbies and passions are?
I'm someone that actually loves doing everything. So like I play violin, I paint, I read, I knit, a lot of dream work. I love eating new foods, going out into nature. I always have like a couple of different hobbies going on. At the moment, I'm learning Korean. Yeah. How about you?
Very cool. Kind of the same. I like picking up things and I hate learning them. Like initially, like that, like learning stage, I hate. It's like super painful, but I like just like dialing things in and like really getting comfortable with things and then just kind of seeing, what I can do with them. So, so like from like, I don't know, I had a stint where I like snowboarded and skated and like, that like, it's really cool to like push yourself and see that personal growth. But yeah, I've done a little bit of everything, musical instruments, sports, video editing. That's kind of how I know what I'm doing a little bit with this. Audio stuff is still really new to me, but nature.
I really like your audio. I've listened to a couple of the previous podcasts that you've done so far. I love it. So
cool. Oh, that's super cool to hear. Yeah, it's a very touchy thing, and like if you get something if you can't nail it in, it's definitely changes things.
Yeah.
Good audio is very important.
Sounding good so far.
Excellent. I'm really glad to hear that. Okay. I'm going to jump into these sleep questions now. What helps you relax or unwind at the end of the day?
I mean, definitely getting off my phone, which is super hard for everyone these days, I think, especially in this kind of age where a lot of my work is done online. I love talking with people and in all different time zones. It means we just get messages constantly, and it's really hard to just set my phone down. So one of the things that I did recently was I subscribed to a bunch of really cool magazines like New Scientist, I think Psychology Today, or just like a bunch of kind of science and psychology magazines. And I've been trying to, pick those up and do just like a bunch of reading before going to sleep, which helps a lot.
Yeah, definitely. I could see that like you've made this investment to like for reading material, which you could probably find online, but like having them physically in front of you, I think that's a pretty good strategy. I haven't really thought about that.
Yeah, I think having like a physical, I know it's super hard for people to do the whole like pick up an actual book and commit to like reading a book. That can seem a bit intense. But having like a magazine and just being able to like, I'll be like, I'll read like a couple of articles. And I don't know, maybe it's because they're online now, but like I've subscribed for a year to a bunch of magazines for as little as like $4, which is crazy to me. I had no idea it was that cheap, which is why I've subscribed to so many now.
Yeah, that's super cheap. Are there any particular titles that you're like really into?
I mean, I love Dreaming, which is an APA journal, obviously about dreams. It's about current dream research. And I love New Scientist as well, just because they send printed magazines out like on a weekly basis. So you're super kind of up to date with the stuff that's going on, rather than some magazines will print like every couple of months. So it's kind of outdated information by that time.
Yeah.
Those are my two favorites at the moment.
Cool. I'm gonna have to check those out.
Mm-hmm.
Do you have any sleep aids? Anything that like, or like a ritual or anything that like gets you in the zone for sleep?
Other than at the moment reading, not really. There will be times that I do kind of meditations or more intention setting for like going to sleep, especially with lucid dream work. But at the moment, I'm just trying to kind of read and do that. I used to wear eye masks, but I kind of find that I don't really like having stuff on my face. Like listening to music or binaural beats and that kind of stuff. Like I have experimented with that, but I tend to wake up with like my headphones wrapped around my head, and I feel not the safest way to sleep.
Yeah, totally. I've definitely tried headphones too, and it just like it's really awkward.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, there's got to be a better way. What does when you say meditate, what does your meditation look like? Do you just like close your eyes and lay down, or?
No, I do kind of I don't know if this is like a certain type of meditation, but it's something that I've built up, which I actually started doing from a mushroom trip I did one time. So basically, I go through my body piece by piece. Like I'll start with my head and just kind of channel all my energy into my head until I can start feeling something kind of moving, or it's like something's kind of touching your face, or those kind of electrical signals that might be on different parts of my head. And I kind of feel into those and try and move the energy around that area. And then as I'm breathing, I kind of feel that energy moving into different parts. So then it'll go like through my neck, through my arms, into my hands, into my fingers, like down my back, and then I'll do my front, that kind of thing. I kind of segment different parts of my body into different areas and work through them.
And then at the end of that, you're just like, you feel kind of pretty ready for sleep, is it?
Yeah, if I do it, sitting up, I'll feel like super relaxed and for sleep. I often even just do it laying in bed, and like I find most of the times that I do that, like I'll have ended up falling asleep before aware of the ending. So it's
in the process.
Method. Yeah.
Nice. Do you share your bed, or do you have it all to yourself?
No, I share my bed, which is something that I know a lot of dreamers struggle with, and I have experienced, plenty of times where, I'll be in this super epic dream, and my other half will like kiss me on the cheek, and I'll wake up and stuff like that. But I'm not as extreme to put my profession before sharing the bed with my loved one. So.
Absolutely. Does your partner have any funny like habits or like sleep habit in bed?
He's pretty much just like hit the bed and is straight out kind of guy. And I love his dreams because they're really just like innocent and super basic. Not like super basic, but like because mine are like pages and pages long, and I'll wake up and tell him this 15-minute story. And we always share dreams in the morning, which I think is a great thing to do with anyone with. It's super intimate to share those details. Like I'll tell him this like 15-minute story, and then I'll be like, "What did you dream about?" And he'll kind of just be like, I think I was playing basketball with my high school friends, and that's it." Fucking awesome.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
And how many hours would you say you get of sleep on average?
Pretty steady, like 6 to 8 hours, I would say. If I can sleep more, I always do. I'm one of those people, like if I didn't set an alarm, I could definitely sleep until like 4 p.m. the next day. Just keep like going in and out of it. But yeah, once I've got my 8 hours, I try and, get up and get my day going.
Yeah, for sure. Is it consistent or is it broken up?
I mean, I do a lot of the wake back to bed practices for lucid dreaming. So I do have my alarms at like 4 in the morning, 5 in the morning, and I will get up and do meditations at that time, set intentions. So in that way, it's broken up, I guess. But if I'm, super tired and just out of it, I will just sleep solidly through the night.
Yeah, that's interesting. It's broken up, but it's intentional and it's for a reason.
Yeah. I'm pretty heavy sleeper, I think. Like, my other half will get up every morning to go running at like 5 or 6 a.m. and I have no idea. Like, he, up, puts the light on, like gets changed, goes running, takes a shower, I'm just out for the whole thing. So
that's funny. And then last question, what's your favorite sleeping position?
I love going to sleep on my back, like pure, just like laid out. I love that. And I feel like if I do that, I get lucid a lot more. I don't know if it's something with kind of letting go notion of the body and just purely laying back, the kind of shavasana, like yoga position, the corpse position as they call it.
Yeah.
I love that, but I also end up kind of sleeping on my side, or often if I wake up, I'm on my side. So I guess I move around.
Okay.
Yeah.
Very cool. All right. At this point, I'm going to kind of turn it over to you. Just kind of give us a little preface of the dream or dreams that you're going to tell. Go into them with as much detail as possible, and then kind of give us your takeaway from those dreams.
Yeah. So I'm going to kind of tell this 3-part series of dreams about the deceased, I guess. Okay. For me, I just lost 2 family members and 1 good friend in my life. And, unfortunately, these things seem to come in threes. I don't know why that is, but it's interesting that does happen. And so luckily for me, at 27, I'm pleased to say that I haven't until now really lost anyone in my life. And this year I suddenly lost 3 people. So up until now, I didn't really have any way to explore death that much in my dream work, other than when I was about 18 and my cat died. I spent about 2 weeks, just dreaming with my cat and playing with her, and that was a lot of closure for me, and just a really nice way to kind of say goodbye, I guess. And I think that I did that at that time for that purpose, and it was really meaningful. So then when this happened this year, I decided to work with its deceased in kind of lucid dream work. So my 3 dreams are about me trying to connect with these people who have passed.
Very cool.
So do you want me to go into the first dream?
Yeah, please. That'd be awesome.
So this first dream, I guess the beginning of the dream, I'm in this kind of European town. Don't really know where exactly, but it's got all these kind of cute European style, maybe kind of reminds me of some of my time in Germany, in Frankfurt, but these kind of houses, and it's snowing, and I'm walking down the street, and so in my waking life, my nana, my grandma, she had passed away the day before this dream. So I found out it had been her funeral, and then I'm going to sleep and I have this dream. And I am just walking down this kind of snowy street, and I look into a window, like to my right, and I just see my nana standing in the window. And so I get lucid immediately, because I just spent the whole day kind of grieving her passing, and it's been something that I found out. And I actually went into this dream not really intending to find her or get lucid. I didn't set any intentions to there. So I guess this is what a lot of people call like a visitation dream, where it seems like someone who's passed kind of approaches you rather than you seeking them out.
Right.
So I see her in this window, and I just kind of open it up immediately. The window's on ground level, and like run in and, give her this huge hug. And I'm so excited that it's her and she's there. And, I'm telling her I love her, and I'm so happy to see her. And the weirdest thing about this is that she is so when she passed, she's in her early 80s. Had a long, beautiful life. But in this dream that she comes to me, she's kind of maybe early 40s. And obviously, I'm 27. I've never seen her in her 40s, but I know it's her. But it was very strange that she is in this younger bodied version of herself.
Wow.
And her attitude reflects that. So before she passed, she'd had a stroke, she'd had a heart attack. She was really struggling with walking around. She lost the use of one of her arms. So she was doing that kind of thing that you do, I guess, when you get old, of being like, don't ever get old. Like, I'm always in pain. I wish I could just walk around or do the stuff that I used to be doing. And so I go in and I'm lucid, and I want to sit and talk to her and be like, what happened? Like, what happens when you die? Like, I want to ask her all these questions. And essentially she just like doesn't give a fuck. Like, she's like, I've got my young body, look at me go. And she's like going in and out of all these rooms in this house we're in. I guess we're kind of in this strange like little living room kitchen situation. She's like running into the kitchen and wants to make me a cup of tea, and is walking and walking and walking.
Wow.
In the dream. And I have like, although I'm lucid, I have no control over her whatsoever. Like, I want her to sit down and talk with me, and she's like, look at me go, look at me walk, look at my body, this is the best.
Wow.
And is just trying to do as many things as possible, like get just like cleaning, doing stuff, that kind of really active thing.
Yeah.
And I do sit and talk with her a bit. The strange thing is that I remember I kind of was walking after her, asking these questions about, what happens when you die, what's it like, and getting these actually really detailed answers from her that when I woke up, like, I couldn't remember that section of the dream at all. Wow. It was, my memory had just been wiped out. Wow. Of that part, which I thought was really weird, because I remember thinking in the dream, like, this is groundbreaking stuff. Like,
right.
I'm being told this information so freely, and then it was like I couldn't bring it back with me.
Oh man.
But I remember her saying that when she died, it was kind of like one of those Hogwarts-esque sorting hat kind of situations where you get grouped into different things. So you either get like your younger body, or you stay with your older body, or you get, I don't know, it's something to do with that. Like you get sorted into a category from your life, and that's what you get. And she got this, like the body from the time of her life that she wanted, I guess, or something like that, and was so pleased that she wasn't in any pain anymore and was able to run around and do whatever she wanted.
Wow.
And I also remember that I wanted to go flying with her. Like I was like, we're in a dream, like it would be so awesome to go flying with you. Like, what do you think? Like, let's just open up the window and take off. And she didn't want to do that at all. She was like, no, that sounds terrifying. And she just wanted to kind of sit down and talk and drink tea. And it was lovely. But it was one of those shocking lucid dreams where I was lucid, totally, had, you know, perfect vision, perfect control over myself and the surroundings, but I wasn't in control of her at all. It was very much like she was her own conscious being. She'd chosen to visit me, and she was doing whatever she wanted.
Yeah, it's very cool to like see her like happy in this like, you know, middle-aged body, and she's just like stoked on that. That's must have been really nice to see, you know, someone just happy.
It was, and obviously, you know, she was living in London and I was over here in the US. So the couple of times that I got to go back and visit her more recently, she was, you know, she was so pleased to see me and spend time together, but she was complaining a lot about how much pain she was in and how difficult it is, you know, losing the use of her arm, and that was definitely getting her down. And it was crazy having this dream, and I came out of it and I spoke to my dad about it and some of my family members, and they were saying, oh, she would definitely be doing that if she got, you know, her younger body back, like no doubt. And it was so strange because I guess that made me really think about, you know, what is it that we're tapping into when we have lucid dreams with the deceased. And obviously if you go in with the intention of seeing someone and you find them and they're in their regular body, that would be one thing. But there was so many things about this dream that I felt like I didn't have control over, and I don't know why she would have been in this younger body, but I wouldn't have any memory of her like that.
Right.
It felt very much like she was consciously choosing how to be, and I was seeing it happen rather than something that I was creating in my mind.
Wow, yeah, that's so cool.
So this got me on the path of being like, wow, that was incredible. And one of my friends, same age as me, had just passed, and so I wanted to see him. So then I was like, you know what, like I'm gonna actually set intentions to see him and talk to him and ask him some stuff. So let me read this one because it's a bit longer and
yeah, no problem.
got more details on there.
Cool.
Great. So this dream, I'm just in a room full of people, and I don't know any of them. So that ended up getting me lucid immediately. So that's kind of one of my lucid dream triggers, is whenever I see people, I just kind of bring myself back to the moment of being like, who am I with? Would I usually be with these people? What am I doing in this situation? kind of going back to that awareness. And so often in dreams now, if I'm with anyone who I don't know, and then I go into that cycle of questions, I'll immediately get lucid.
Interesting.
So I'm in this room full of people, and I mentioned in this account that the lighting is not very good. So I kind of command the lighting or the room, like I turn the lights on, or get brighter now, or get clearer now. And that usually kind of makes the visuals better, realizes the dream. So I immediately shout out to the dream, like, bring me my friend's name, and nothing happens. And then I'm with all these people, and they're just kind of looking at me like, what is she doing?
Yeah.
I'm shouting out for my friend. And then I'm trying all these different techniques. So one of a good lucid dream technique, if you want to see someone, is to go in front of the door and kind of say, like, when I open this door, like, name will appear, or whoever will be behind the door. So I'm doing this with my friend's name, like opening and closing this door. It's not working.
Yeah.
And by this time, pretty much everyone in this room thinks I'm like fucking crazy. So then I'm kind of looking around this room, and I'm trying to look for a character in there who's conscious. So like usually in your dreams, you have like conscious characters, or you have puppets, and the puppets are the people that are not really very active, will just be kind of sitting around, or the type of people who they don't have any like light within their eyes. You can control them super easily. Like if you talk to them, they'll kind of say the things that you're thinking or whatever. It seems very much like just a part of yourself. Gotcha. Or a part of your mind. Where there are these conscious characters, like in the dream of my Nana, like where I'm not in control of her at all. Like these kind of characters seem to have their own consciousness going from outside of me. Wow. So I'm looking around to see if there's any of those. I spot one girl who looks super conscious, and she tells me that the room opposite the room I'm in is full of conscious characters. So I'm like, awesome, that'll give me information. Yeah. So I leave this room, go out into this hallway. I guess I'm in this like weird kind of hotel space. Like it looks like there's a long hallway, like a lot of different doors. I was in one of these like rooms that seemed like a living room, like there's sofa, chairs, and people sitting around. So I go into the other room, see another conscious character. Like this room is full of conscious people.
Wow.
I go in there and I'm like, why is everyone out there not conscious? Like what's going on?
Yeah.
And we kind of have this small conversation. They're like, oh yeah, like all the conscious people are staying in this room or something. It's very weird.
Wow.
And then I decide to ask them, I'm like, I'm looking for my friend. I've tried calling his name out. He's not coming. I've tried the door thing. Like it's not working. What do I do? And this one person in there tells me to go into the hotel restaurant, and that I'll find my friend there. Like they have prepared for me to find him. And if I go to the restaurant, he'll be there.
Whoa.
So I'm like, okay. And I walk down the hallway. I'm trying to find the restaurant, and I get into the restaurant, and there's like a bunch of people in there, these like big, long, white tablecloth tables. People are eating in there, and I kind of walk in, and there's a waiter there, and he looks at me and he's like, oh, you must be the girl who's looking for her friend. Like we've prepared him for you. Take a seat and we'll bring him right out.
Whoa.
Yeah. So I sit down, and the waiter comes back over, and this is still super vivid, super lucid. Like while he's doing this, I'm looking around. I can see everything very clearly, as if I was in a restaurant.
Wow.
In my waking life.
Wow.
Waiter comes back over with this kind of silver platter of food and this like giant slab of steak, and puts it down in front of me. And I'm like, what's this? And he's like, it's your friend, and kind of like hints at me to like look down. And I look down, and it's got like this one of those like paper menu type things that tells you what your dish is. Yeah. And it says that the steak is like the name of my friend.
Whoa.
Like, what? And I'm kind of like laughing at this point, because I'm just like, what is going on? Like, why are these people messing with me? Like, I just want to friend and talk to him. And I'm kind of like, okay, this is just getting weird now. So I get up and I'm like, I'm just gonna go somewhere else, like change this whole scenery. Like, this place is going crazy. So I get up and I walk outside of this building, and I see this house, like this kind of little pathway going up to this, not actually a house, it's more of a mansion, like one of these like beautiful brick mansions with all these like nice trees, and it looks really peaceful and beautiful. And I'm like, I'm gonna go in there. So I walk up this like stone path, and one of my friends from Japan, he answers the door, like greets me in Japanese, tells me to come in. And I tell him, like, I'm looking for my friend, and I say his name again. And then all the lights in this house go dim, like everything's dark. And my friend kind of like backs away from me, leaves the room. So I'm in this dark room, and I just feel so stumped. And I'm like, I'm trying to use different commands, like I'm telling the lights to go back on. I use a lot of spells in my lucid dreams. So I'm kind of like making spells to get him to come or to get something to happen. And it's just not working. And I felt just like at that point where I'm just like, you know what, maybe it's not meant to be. I'm not supposed to see him. And I kind of just let go and lose that feeling. And I wake up immediately. Wow. And that dream was such a contrasting dream for me. And it really made me go back to compare it with the dream with my Nana, where she kind of visited me, and thinking about the ways that, you know, maybe we can't just make someone appear or do what we want. When we're lucid. Like, maybe it kind of depends on them if they want to be seen or want to be contacted, or I don't know.
If it's just not the right time.
Yeah. And so I read kind of a bit more into people's lucid dreams with people, and I read that like people seem to say that you can't just command someone from the other side, or whatever you believe it is, to show up when you want. And it might be years before that person visits you. They might not visit you at all.
Right.
And this really changed my perspective on lucid dreaming and how much control we have. And it reminded me of that Robert Wagner quote where he kind of says that the sailor has control over the ship, but not control over the sea. So like, you can be a really good sailor, a really good lucid dreamer, and have control over yourself and your environment, but you don't have control over everything. Like, the dream is still doing something on its own. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah, it seems to be like it's a gift, you know, when things play out the way we want to. It's definitely a gift. I mean, if you had just been able to make your friend appear, and if everybody would be able to do that, it wouldn't be as significant when you do have these dreams.
Yeah, totally. Yeah, and it made me feel, you know, I don't know what I think about the afterlife or what happens. I think as I age, I keep changing my mind about what I think. And then these two dreams really made me think about that, and thinking about, like, you know, are these experiences where we are kind of connecting with someone's consciousness even after they've died? Or, you know, what are the boundaries? Like, what are the restrictions in that? Why was I not allowed to bring back some information? Why was some of it wiped from my memory? These questions. And so the third dream of this series, which I had about 3 days ago, was a similar situation. Like, actually, this dream, I was not lucid for a large chunk of it. I was in this kind of house party that was a birthday party for myself. And it was like a crazy party, loads of people, and I was having a great time. And I remember someone brought out this birthday cake, and I noticed that my other half, he wasn't there. I was like, where is he? Like, where did he go? So I start going looking for him, and I go outside, and then I'm outside on the same street that my primary school was on. And this is in London. And so I start looking at all the kind of cute houses and brickwork again. And I go up really close to the brickwork, and I'm like touching it. And then I realize that all the bricks are kind of glowing different colors.
Wow.
And that gets me lucid immediately. So I'm like, great.
Yeah.
And I'm outside, and it's night, and I look up kind of into the sky, and I just shout out to the dream again, like, I want to see my Nana, like, bring me my Nana. And then the clouds in this dream start kind of swirling in like this, you know, like in The Lion King, where Simba wants to talk to Mufasa and the clouds will kind of form his face.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's a bit like that. Like, they're all kind of swirling around. It doesn't form a face or anything, but this booming kind of voice starts coming out from the clouds and basically tells me, you can't see her, and if you keep like that notion of asking her to come back and forwards between these worlds, it's going to be too confusing for her. And like, when she's ready, she'll come to you. And I was really surprised by that. And I just kind of say, like, oh, thank you, kind of thing, to clouds, or this voice that's coming out of nowhere.
Yeah. Wow.
And I kind of thank them for the information, and I tell them, like, you know, please tell her I'm sending her my love, and I'll let her come to me. And then I kind of continue on with my dream. I end up finding my other half, who's like taken a bunch of shrooms, and spend the rest of the dream like laughing at him rolling around on the floor.
That's awesome.
But yeah, that was kind of my 3-part series of dreaming with the deceased and what I've been working on at the moment.
Wow, super powerful stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I've never had a lucid dream, but like the characters and like the stake, like it's like kind of scary.
Yeah, I can see how people would think that's scary, and there's a lot of interpretation into what that could mean. I've kind of come to the point where I've had so many dreams turn out to be those kind of weird symbolic things that I find it quite funny, like almost like I'm playing a game with myself. Do you know what I mean? Like,
okay. Yeah.
The interactions with a lot of these conscious characters, or when you're telling people you're in a dream, and the way that they kind of fight back, or they'll be like, this isn't a dream, or they'll get really offended, and some of them will start arguments with you about how it's not a dream. Other people will start telling you, like, no, you're in my dream, like I just one and you're the dream stuff. There's a lot of weird things that happen, but if you've got that like full scope of lucidity, that kind of takes away the fear, because at the end of the day, I know that I'm in control of myself, at least. So if I want to wake up, I'll wake up. If I want to change place, I'll change place. So it doesn't feel as scary anymore. Yeah.
You kind of have an awareness of like, this is this other realm, and anything that happens here. Because like having one of those just like randomly and not having that awareness it would freak me out for sure.
Yeah, I mean, it is definitely going back to that awareness and telling yourself that this is a dream. And I guess that can be scary for some people, but for me, that's super empowering. And having that with you at all times is what helps you really, make progress in your life and do these things that are scary in your waking life, that you can start working in the dream space. Like one huge example of that is people who are struggling with depression or struggling with, social anxieties and stuff like that. Like if you're someone who is finding it difficult just to have a basic conversation with someone, then getting lucid in a dream and having that task of like, I'm just going to go and talk to someone, and that they're a dream character, and that no matter what you say or do, it kind of like, it doesn't matter because this is your dream. Like, this is what you're making of it. So if it goes good, great. Maybe that is what you need, the step to be like, this isn't so bad. Like, I can do this. I can wake up and go and talk to someone. And if it goes bad, you're like, whatever, it was my dream. Like, I'll try again next time. So yeah, it's having that awareness that gives you strength more than anything.
Awesome. I got a lot of work to do, I think, with my dream world. I haven't been having very many dreams lately, but I got to work on that for sure.
What do you think that's down to?
I think it's like quality of sleep at this point. It's just I'm working on like my phone. I'm trying to like get off my phone and read a couple hours before. And like, I think like the setting yourself up for success is like probably the hardest point, because you're like breaking all these habits. And like I'm totally like neurotic. Like I always have to have something going on. So like I really got to tell myself like, hey man, it's 2 hours before bed. Put your computer stuff down. And
I think those are the most difficult parts for people, is actually you have all these ideas and these things you want to do, and especially with dream work, like if you got to see it as the reward. Like if it's something you really want to work on, I think that's why like it's so important to find your kind of why, like the core of why you want to do something, and finding that thing that you're like, this is more important to me than anything else. And until you really find that, then it's super easy to stay up on your phone and do other stuff because you're like,
totally
like whatever.
There's no reason.
Yeah.
Well, it's a really good segue into kind of where I want to take this. As far as like, I mean, dreams are healthy. Like having control of your dreams is even healthier. But I read a lot of posts and whatnot online, and people they want that magic pill to be able to become lucid and just get into it. And there's a lot of different techniques out there. I think it sounds like you just really got to find what works for you. But yeah, there's no quick answer. It's is something you have to work on for sure.
Yeah, I mean, there's no magic pill necessarily. There are supplements that people stand by, things like galantamine, and more like herbal things like valerian root and stuff like that. That for some people who've been trying to lucid dream for like the best part of like 5 or 10 years, they take 4 to 8 milligrams of galantamine, and then boom, like they're lucid immediately.
Yeah.
Other people who have lucid dreams all the time, like might take galantamine and nothing happens.
Right.
I think really it's down to the pill of like belief. Like if you believe you can do it, you can. And if you start, really telling yourself that, and a lot of the techniques to getting lucid for the first time kind of go into that, of like, it's really as simple as sitting down before you go to bed and having an intention, having something really strong, no matter how big or small, of being like, tonight I'm going to get lucid and do this.
Mm-hmm.
And then boom, like similar to the placebo effect,
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, I think it is that, finding something that really motivates you, something that you really want to work on. And I think people know themselves, like, if you're going to get a good night's sleep or a good lucid dream, for you, that might be having to do those meditations and having to really put yourself in that mindset. For other people, it might just be the thought, like 2 seconds before going to sleep, like,
Mm-hmm.
hey, I want to have a lucid dream tonight. And that might be for them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely worth it. I mean, our health is, we'll never get that back. And once it's deteriorated to a certain point, like, as far as we know, we only got one shot. So,
yeah. And
is...
for sure. And for me, like, that one shot, is so important. And lucid dreaming, like being conscious in your dream state, gives you, like, I mean, they say that you spend about 26 years of your life sleeping.
Mm-hmm.
So you technically spend more of your life dreaming than you do eating, right?
Wow, yeah.
It's like we think so much about like nourishment food-wise and what are we going to eat for lunch? Like that's often enough to get me through a day. Like
right.
Dreaming about what I'm going to have for lunch. Or dinner or whatever, and we spend so much time thinking about what should we eat, what should we put in our body, about our food and nutrition, and then so many people spend like 0% of that time thinking about what should we be doing while we're sleeping. And if someone was to say to you, like, I can add 26 years on conscious time to your life, I don't think there's many people who would be like, nah, I'm good. And it's like, we all have access to that. We all have access to those 26 years to like really take action and really do something in that time, whether that's working on yourself or like reconnecting with a loved one or just having fun and letting loose and like flying or whatever it is.
Yes.
I don't want to waste that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mm-hmm.
So we went into that. So when we do have problems with sleeping, we're kind of, any problem health-wise, we are told as young kids and taken to the doctor, and that's just, for most people, what we know. If there's a problem, go see the person that fixes it.
Yeah.
So a lot of people are given a pill,
right.
which usually you're going to have a pill for the pill because you got to counteract the negatives of that pill.
Yeah.
And it's just kind of like a snowball effect. And that's all, that's really, unless we take it upon ourselves to like go search for other answers, it's like all we know. So my first question is, should everybody be making an attempt to achieve lucidity in their dreams, with or without trauma?
Yeah, I mean, for some people, you have either something that does require medical attention, whether that might be a pill, and so you may have to go that route. For other people, lucid dreaming is something that stops them taking things like antidepressants immediately, because I think especially with depression, like a large part of depression is actually just spending that inner time on working out, like, what is it that gives my life meaning, right? And that's when we get depressed, is when we lose ourselves on that path and we don't know like what the point is anymore. Like we don't feel connected to there being any meaning in our lives. And I think this issue with medication and stuff for a lot of people, whether it's like self-medicating with things like marijuana or psilocybin or whatever it is, it doesn't have to be one or the other, you know? Like if you are someone who's on antidepressants or you're self-medicating or you're going to psychotherapy, like try the inner stuff at the same time, you know? There's no one thing like that's going to go against you doing meditation or go against you doing dream work or writing affirmations for yourself and stuff like that. I think if someone is really extreme about continuing their medication, they should do that. But that doesn't mean it's one or the other. But I think in my experience talking with a lot of people, the reason they are on medication is because they felt like, and this is especially with depression, which is what my research is about, but is that they felt like they needed to be doing something that made them feel like they're gonna make it through and they're gonna be getting better. But what they actually want is that active feeling of I'm getting better. And for me, there's no better way to do that than through dream work and really committing yourself to these different things, like these, which is what I do in my coaching sessions, you know, like we sit and we really go into like, what is something that's going to give you meaning? Like, what are your deepest desires? What are goals you want? What is something that you like? Where would you want to be if you could be anywhere? Because you can either start from one end or the other. You know, for some people, it's just like they've been grinding it their whole life. And whatever situation they're in, like go to work, go home, shower, go to bed, day after day. Someone like that, maybe all they need is the knowing that, you know what, then tonight I can get lucid and go and lay on a beach or have myself $1 million and drive a fast car and, you know, party hard, take drugs or whatever it is without it being damaging to my body. Might be in for that kind of thing. And for other people, maybe it's the knowing that, like, you know what, I don't have time in my intense waking life to do that inner work on myself. And so they go into the dream space to do that, where there's no distractions and they can go in and really, you know, either ask the space or ask themselves or speak to a character and find out these things, like what are the things I need to know? What are the next steps I need to take to get better in my life? Like, what is something I can do to work on myself? And then after we kind of do that work, like you can really start seeing the stepping stones for where they want to be, where they want to get to, and set these really fun assignments for which is what I do with people, and I love it. It's incredible seeing the progress someone can make from just one lucid dream, where they're like, they kind of regain that fire and that in their eyes, where they're like, you know, I do have control over my life. I do have the ability to make decisions, and bringing that awareness back, and that recycles into the waking state, and they spend more time while they're awake thinking about these things as well. And taking, you know, it's about both. It's always balance. It's like do the work in the dream so that you can do it while you're awake.
Totally. Wow, that was awesome. It's almost like the ultimate video game.
Yeah. I mean, that's how it starts to feel, right? And when I'm sure some people have experienced that thing where it's like you start really thinking about something you want or a goal, and you get really lit up by it.
Yeah.
And you start making progress towards doing that. And it almost feels like that universal thing of you're coming into alignment, and then everything's just like go, 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 like it's all working out. And it's super powerful. And I've seen it happen so many times now that, like, whether it's kind of a video game or whether we're in a simulation or whatever it is that you think you're in, like, as long as you're making meaning out of it and you're living your best life and you're then whatever.
Yeah, absolutely. I want you to talk a little bit more about your dream work in a little bit, but I also want to kind of touch base on where would someone start to, like, just maybe one or two things just to get started on trying to have control over their dreams, or like, what can someone do that's never had a lucid dream to kind of get that ball moving?
Yeah. I mean, one of the first things that people often say is dream journals, which sure is effective. Like, when you start writing down your dreams, you start having a better memory of them, and for some reason that links into things being more vivid in your dream space, and they start getting longer and longer, and you seem to have better recall. So that's one thing. And I always say to people who are like, I don't remember anything, we have just black space. There's kind of two things that I recommend for that. One is that when you wake up, you just stay still and you feel into how you're feeling, because we often wake up with the residue of a dream. Like, if you have that epic dream, like, you wake up super happy, right? And if you have a nightmare, you wake up covered in sweat.
For sure.
And start with that, like, wake up, see how you feel, just write that down. Start with that. Like, you're always feeling something. So even if it's one word, or even if you wake up and your mind's like, oh, I think I was eating cheesecake, like,
yeah.
That's one thing. Another thing I use is visuals. So, like, I really like tarot decks for that reason, not necessarily for tarot itself, but for the imagery. Like, there's often times where I kind of feel fuzzy in the morning, and I'll lay out all the cards, and just for some reason, like, by looking at an image on a card, I get this like flashback thing, and I'm like, oh yeah, like, it was a dream with this dog in it, and I start, like, just from looking at different images, I can start remembering something else,
kind of making connections. Those tarot cards, I mean, the imagery on those are so cool. I love them. And it's something kind of fun in that way. Like, I think there's definitely people who are more visual based than like writing based and that kind of stuff. So for me, I'm a visual person, and that definitely helps with recall. But again, like, my main thing for people getting lucid is like finding that reason of why you want to, because that's the huge stimulation for you. Like, if you're someone who's just like, you know what, I've been sitting around being feeling depressed, not knowing what to do with my life, I want answers. Like, I want to get my life going, I want to pick things back up. Like, that will be more stimulating than anything to get you lucid. And for other people, might be something more simple, just like, I want to make more money. Like, maybe I can tap into that and find some answers that way, or I just need a break. But when you find that reason behind what you want to do, that's the fastest way. Cool. Let's see here. What do I have? So you're in Boulder. In Denver, they just recently decriminalized psilocybin.
Yeah.
which is super exciting. I think with any drug, there's positives and negatives, but it's been so long since we've really been able to like take a look at this like compound and kind of tear it apart and look into it more. How excited are you to see this happen? And what are your thoughts on the studies and the progress ahead as we learn more about itself and its healing properties?
Yeah, I'm so excited about this. I think it's about time, like I can't believe that it's taken this long almost, especially in regards to scientific research. Like a huge part of the decriminalization for me is that now more people, more scientists have access to using these, medicinal psychoactive drugs to actually study them finally and see what they really do, because before they were made illegal, like we didn't have much of a chance to really do that, and a lot of the supposed studies are clearly just bullshit and we're just like media propaganda and stuff like that. And if you follow any of the kind of study programs, like I know they're doing work at Imperial College of London, and also with maps and stuff like that. Like when you look at the changes that it's making for people and their lives, it's really inspiring and incredible. And if you're anyone who's experimented with things like psilocybin, like in a safe way, that and setting is huge for that. And I don't recommend just anyone goes and gets them and does them. I think it's something you should prepare yourself for. But yeah, life-changing experiences, and that medicine is much more active to me than things like antidepressants. Like it's mind-blowing how it makes you really go into your subconscious and explore the depths of your mind.
Yeah,
and
totally.
People not ready for that.
Yeah.
But I would much rather be have access to medicines like that than medicines that I was, force-fed growing up, that put me in a zombie-like state where I couldn't think at all.
Yeah.
And for people who really want to, explore themselves and do the inner work, like it's going to be an incredible medicine for them to use in the future, hopefully.
Well, it's interesting because, if you go to the doctor right now, they give you a pill which doesn't have a running history of success or failure. But psilocybin's been, it's just been around forever. And, it's not a cure-all, but we know that it's relatively safe.
Yeah. And especially if you're doing work with it, with people who are experienced in kind of guiding a trip and stuff like that, or with your loved ones, and in a safe space, and or in nature, or it depends how experienced you are. But I know in these studies that they're doing now, they're getting results from people doing end of life care and different incredible things like that, saying that like 70 to 80% of them, I think something as high as that, are saying this was one of the single most important experiences of my life. And people are saying those sort of things, it's got to be doing something.
Yes.
And yes, it's a bit like dream work in that sense, where until you've kind of had that experience, it's very difficult to explain what it does, because it's going to be different for each individual.
Yeah.
For sure. And I don't know, for me, like it launched me into what I do now. I think like it started me knitting. I realized on one of my like bigger shroom trips last year I was just like, I want to be creating something. Like I just had this urge running through my body of like, I want to make something. Like I want to be making something. I can't explain it other than that.
Yeah.
But that was what's running through me when I was kind of speaking to my inner self and wanted to know like, what do I need to be working on? And that was kind of the story that came out of it. And so when I came out of that trip, I started looking up different things to do, like looked up like pottery, art stuff, like all these different things. And I stumbled across knitting. And I was like, well, I had my assumptions about knitting or own personal judgments about it, and I was like, isn't that just what like cool people do?
Right.
But it turned out to be like one of my favorite things in the world. I love it. It's super meditative, like sitting and counting stitches while you do it. It connected me to so many different people. I found these different groups of people doing it, so many young people doing it, men and women. I was like, where have you people been hiding my whole life?
Right.
And also just that satisfaction of like, I made a bunch of my friends like scarves and hats for Christmas, and it felt really satisfying to make something and give something to someone. And that definitely came out of my trip. It was like it came out of within me, and I didn't have the methods to tap into that for some reason. And then throughout this trip, it like just came out. And the other stories, that I've heard from other people that come out of using those medicines are just life-changing, incredible things. Yeah.
Absolutely. Could you you kind of hit on this, but what are your thoughts personally on the similarities between the lucid state and being under the influence of psilocybin? Like, what are the any similarities or comparisons to the two?
Yeah, it's definitely, the similarities are like tapping into that alternate state of consciousness that you go into, and you seem to be able to access different things. So we know that, from fMRI scans and things like that, that when we lucid dream, different parts of our brain are active from when we're awake. So we're kind of sending messages across these parts of our brain that we don't necessarily use in the same way in the waking state, if at all, which is why which is why we can tap into that kind of like these inner questions or supposedly unexplained things that when we're awake, we just can't seem to find the answer to. And then you tap into that lucid state and you're like, oh, boom, so simple. And you start realizing these things that you haven't been able to think about before. And I guess that's similar to, psychedelic drug states. Like these parts of our brain light up and we are able to connect and send messages across that we don't tap into in the waking state. And I like how, people kind of describe it like changing the channel on a TV. Like you had 5 channels when you're awake, and then you either get lucid or you take a psychedelic, and it's like suddenly you've got access to 100 channels, right? And they're all different things, and you flip through them and kind of get to what you want. So it's, I guess that kind of access to information feels very similar.
Yeah, totally. I can relate. I mean, not to the lucid dreaming state, but definitely the psilocybin side of things.
What's been your experience with that?
What was psilocybin? Very little. I'm actually, I'm like trying to get back into it a little bit slowly. I really enjoy just like a slight head change, I don't feel like, I personally don't really want to go on like any lengthy adventures, although not right away, at least. I want to slowly introduce it, but at the end of the day, I don't smoke weed because I drive trucks for a living, so I get random UAs. but just getting a head change like once in a while would be, would be huge for me.
Yeah, I think two things from that. Like one is about microdosing and how that's like a very powerful way for people to kind of get that small head change, like self-perceptional doses, and I did microdosing for my research project for about 8 months. And it was incredible. Like the kind of boost of creativity, the boost of energy, just the different mindset that you get in, but you're not tripping, you're just like feeling into this state. Again, it's very difficult to describe without doing it, but I know that now in Toronto, I think it's Toronto, definitely somewhere in Canada, they've now opened up shops where you can buy microdoses legally, which is incredible, like the movement that's being made on that. And there's other programs like medicinal mindfulness that are based here in Boulder, and they do work on kind of cannabis, DMT, looking at the progress of things like that. And another one is the Third Wave. They specialize in microdosing. They've expanded out a lot now, but they're great to check out if you're interested in that kind of thing. And I think they have an entire program on like if you want to microdose and how you do it and how to do it safely and what kind of intentions to set and what doses to use, in this whole forum of people who are working together on exploring that realm. But the other point I wanted to make is about you're saying about the UA tests, and I know that there's being movement made now here in Colorado, at least, about how we shouldn't be able to be tested for things like marijuana. That should not come up on like a drug test for your work, like, because they found so much evidence of how medicinal it is for people. Like it's almost unfair to be punishing people for that. So I mean, hopefully that's going to change in the near future.
For sure. I've been thinking about this for years, and I know the answer why it's not available, because it's a money grab, but obviously I shouldn't be driving an 18-wheeler stoned, but there's got to be a test out there that can like prove if you smoked within the last 24 hours or whatever, because someone taking whatever substance on their weekends when they're in a safe environment shouldn't be illegal.
No,
as long as they're not hurting anybody else.
It's mind-blowing to think like you can essentially get like completely wasted on like vodka or like any types of alcohol, spend the whole night drinking like tequila or something crazy like that, and go and work hard machinery with no or like versus sitting in your living room smoking a bit of weed and like watching a movie or meditation to calm down and be punished for that.
Seriously. It's a big joke. It really is.
I'm glad it's finally changing, and not that I advise you to use like heavy machinery while you're stoned, but like you want to smoke weed with friends and have a laugh on a Saturday and go to work on Monday with no precautions, like it shouldn't be a problem with that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's all I have. Do you I obviously want you to promote any of your dream work courses. I know you got one coming up. Can you give us some ways to contact you and see what you're up to and whatnot?
For sure. Yeah. So something super exciting I'm working on right now is a retreat that I'm doing called Dreaming Wide Awake. This is a 3-day, 2-night lucid dreaming retreat here in Boulder, Colorado, at a beautiful retreat center called Peaceful Meadow. It's going to be April 2020. The dates are 10th, 11th, and 12th of April. 12th of April is actually like International Lucid Dreaming Day, which is super epic to have that like, the finale of the retreat. But if you want to find out more about it, you can essentially go to my website, which is my name, Lana Sackwild, LanaSackwild.com. I have a big like poster out there on the front page of how you can apply for the retreat. I originally had it set up so that you know, anyone could register. That was how I was going to go with it, but I have now changed it to that you need to apply to be possibly selected to take part in this retreat, because we want to make it you know, a very special and intimate group of people. It's very you know, we want people to be in a similar group of people who have got similar goals, similar desires, really want to do this work, like take this as a serious thing and kind of make these connections for life. If you're sitting with people opening up and helping each other and working together, I think you have to filter out people for that. So if the kind of things that I've been talking about in this podcast resonate with you, like definitely think about applying for this retreat, because there's nothing better than, you know, working on these things in a group of people who are all trying to get to the same point, all helping each other along. There's so much information about the things we're going to do, you know, work-wise, but at the same time, it's a retreat. So it's still about having fun, relaxing, taking time out from your everyday life to like do that inner work and rejuvenate and refresh yourself, and you know, take those 3 days to do that, and then get back kind of more motivated and inspired than ever, which is a great way to do this kind of work.
Absolutely. That's super cool.
Yeah, thank you. I'm really excited about it, and I think we're going to get an awesome group of people together.
Awesome. Are there any other social media handles or anything else you'd like to share with people?
My Facebook page is at Get Lucid with Lana. That I just share like posts and stuff like that. I try and keep people up to date with what I'm doing, put out different images or articles that I think are inspiring for people. My Instagram is at Lana Sackwild, which is more of my own personal life in a mix with my business stuff.
Cool.
But I love connecting with people, and I love hearing about what people are working on and their dreams and their ambitions. And even if, you know, you're someone who doesn't necessarily want direct lucid dream coaching sessions, like I would still love to hear about what you're doing and connect different people and do that kind of stuff. So yeah, give me a follow if you're someone who likes to do the same.
So cool. Well, again, thank you so much for your time. This has been awesome. I think we covered a lot of ground, and it's just been really cool talking with you. I really appreciate it.
Thank you so much, Mason. I really appreciate it. And yeah, I feel like we could talk forever, but I don't want to put you through the editing work.
Yes, we definitely could.
Yeah.
Cool.
That would be awesome, maybe to do a part 2 or something. And yeah, I would love to hear more about other people's experience with like dreams with the deceased, whether it's like lucid dreams or not, and that kind of stuff, because I think that area for sure is like a taboo as such. We don't really talk about people who have died, especially in the Western world.
Yeah, for sure.
Any of that. So yeah, I would love to connect with more people who are interested in that area.
Very cool. Rad. Well, you have an excellent Sunday. Again, I really appreciate it. And let's keep that on the back burner about a part 2. It'd be cool.
Sounds good. Thank you.
All right, Lana. Have a good day.
You too.
Bye.